the big thing was that Henry Copeland at Blog Ads came along and had blog ads, and I had always wanted to, make TPM into a money making, or at least, not money making, to support myself, or at least pay for the work I was putting into it.
I was kind of thinking like, okay, well, if we're not going to go the traditional route, at least we should have this be a money making business somehow. So I think I was probably more for ads than Josh was in the beginning. For him, it was always the integrity of the publication and the user experience. Like that was the most important thing. And the idea that we would have ads sort of, distracting from the content, or just making the reader experience any less pure, was not palatable to him.
I think that was late 2002 or something like that. But that was a really big deal. Pretty quickly, maybe within days, I got the first ad, and that ad was maybe something like, $600, to run an ad for a short period of time. And then when it really started taking off was you had political campaigns that ran ads, not to persuade anybody, but they knew it was a channel for hitting the people who would contribute money. And that was, that certainly didn't start the digital small donor thing, but it was a key engine for it. So that was really, blog ads was really the first thing. And I don't remember the exact time span, but it's possible that within 6 months I was making a real income, going from literally making $100 a month to a real income.
He was doing side gigs, freelancing for like the New Yorker, the New York Post. He was just writing pieces to bring in cash. And, for him, it was about growing it into a real company that he could have, a bricks and mortar office and staff, and not have to keep doing what he was doing to kind of scramble to pick up pieces here and there. And instead to make it kind of a sustained, it's a company, it's a company that sustains us and our family, that was his plan, and he did it. So
yeah. Relatively, by the time that I started hiring a couple employees and had an office, it was clear to me that the real money in advertising was never going to be from blog ads. The big stuff was not there. You had to access the big corporate ad campaigns that were in those traditional ad formats. Now, at the time, as blog ads evolved, they were also doing they were working with agencies and getting some of those things. So they saw that, they saw this too, but I really wanted to get out of TPM's exclusive dependence on blog ads for that reason.
And I don't remember if I had the idea or he had the idea, and then I just did the follow through, but we were doing, or if he'd always done some kind of book club, or he would read books, that it seemed to me that it would be a good fit to have publishers advertise their books, because we had this very clear idea of what our demographic was, and it was a really great way to reach our demographic. But it was much more manual. It wasn't automated in the way that I think you're describing, right? Like we just knew from questionnaires and surveys who our readers were. And we also knew based on the content, and we knew because the way that they, interacted with us and sent us emails and tips by email, that we pitched. I mean, I actually cold called publishers, advertising marketing departments for publishers, and said, I think you should do this. And but at that point it was really kind of not the Wild West. It was kind of a new place to advertise. And we were like, oh, okay, like, let's see what we can do. Why don't you try this or try that? And so it was fun. Like we had a really good time. It felt like a very creative, very energetic time of growth. And I was just kind of by the seat of my pants. Like, you know, I would see something and be like, oh, that seems like a good idea. Syriana, I'm trying to remember when that came to us. So this was my big idea that I pitched to Syriana, which was a film, I think maybe with George Clooney. And the ad for the movie was kind of iconic. It was him being blindfolded, a hostage or something situation. And so my pitch, when I pitched it to the production company, the marketing department, production company, was let's put a blindfold on Josh. Because, you know, at the time that was the avatar, his face was like on the top of TPM. And so we did. They loved it. They were like, that's awesome. You know, it was like, there wasn't a road laid out ahead of me. It's kind of like I paved it brick by brick as I was going, you know, and it was ours. So it felt very personal and very satisfying to do the work in a different way work had ever been for me before. You know, when you're working for a big corporation, you have satisfaction in, you know, the product, which to me, you know, was one that was very well respected, and working with a lot of really bright, experienced people. But when you're selling, you know, some kind of cool advertising idea to a movie company and it's yours, like the money's coming to you, you know, like to our business and growing, and therefore growing our business. There's something just so exciting about that you can't really replicate at a big corporate job. And maybe you felt that too, because it's more personal, you know, it's kind of like always been, even 20, you know, even at 20, when we were in our when TPM was in its teens, I would say we were like an adolescent startup. You know, it was always still felt like we can figure it out as we go and be creative. And that's not something you can do at a big company. You just can't. Like, it doesn't shift as nimbly as a business like TPM does.